We're going to call to order the April 18th, 2023 meeting of the board meeting. I will note that all board members are present tonight. And if you would please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Item 1.04 is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
Not this evening.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by board member Debbie Miller and a second by board member Bannister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. We're going on to 2.01, Human Resources, Classified School Employees of the Year. That sounds fun. Mr. Stolz.
Thank you, President Stallion, members of the board and cabinet. I am very honored this evening to be up here to recognize one of our district classified school employees of the year. And just a quick reminder, every school year around this time, the district takes time out working with our site administrators to recognize some of our just amazing classified employees. Classified employees range everything from secretaries, yard duties, grounds, custodial, the whole gamut of employees who do all that foundational work for us to do a job for kids. So I'm here today. We're going to invite school dean to come up and join me. Each principal, they did nominations. They suggested individuals that would be recommended in certain categories. We had a judging process and evaluation process that we did in partnership with the California School Employees Association. And I'm here tonight to let you know that one member of the CECA team, Mary Hardy, was named as a Classified School Employee of the Year in the Secretary Series. Mary, could you come up? If I could have you stand here and I can say a couple of glowing things about you, and then I'll give Mr. Mead a moment as well. So many of us know Mary well. She's been a key foundational piece at CECA. I'm going to read a few words, and I'm going to have Mr. Mead say a few things as well. But Mary has been an 18-year employee with us. She's senior secretary currently at CECA. And these are some snippets of some things that were said about her. This reads, Mary Hardy has managed to accomplish all of the duties of a senior secretary and more with a deftness that even the most skilled plate spinner would admire. She is never afraid of or above stepping into any role. Mary will grab her radio and ask where she is needed. No job is too big or small for her. She's a wonderful secretary, and more importantly, a wonderful person. Mr. Mead, you want to add that?
There's never enough time to celebrate someone who works so hard. But Mary, I asked the office staff, can we come up with one thing that represents Mary for us, one sentence or two sentences? And so this is from your peers. Okay, Mary, you truly are the glue that helps hold this school together. No one knows exactly how much you do, from handling staff issues to communicating with professionals downtown. You are amazing, and we appreciate you more than you know. So we appreciate everything you do, Mary. No one will ever know how hard you work, but we all kind of rely on you and go to you kind of like a mom on campus. And so this is so well deserved. Great that we get to celebrate you public like this.
I'm going to present you this very pretty glossy trophy. And if I can invite the board to come up, and we'll take a picture with Ms. Hardy up here on the front. Very simple. Mary will be second showing at the regular board meeting at 6:30. Thank you.
She's a great secretary.
All right, great start. Do we have any public comment? Okay. So we're moving on to 4.01, our advisory committee report. Mr. Mead and Mr. Gregory, welcome.
Good evening. Okay, let's see, last time we met about a week and a half ago, we went over our California dashboard review for today, I believe. Just kind of looking at the data, make sure it's accurate, also that it's easy to read from the way we illustrate it. Kind of just some feedback on that. We went over our half-day collaboration recap, which our second grade teachers recently completed. You know, the emphasis on that collaboration day and professional development was identifying workload and how to determine what of those workloads are have an impact on learning and which of those workloads don't have an impact on learning. And kind of using a keep, tweak, and ditch approach to try to remove those items that are taking too much emphasis on not on learning. That way they can focus more on the learning workload. And I think from what we heard, the half day is not enough, but you know, it was a good start. We discussed the PK classes. I believe are going to be starting tomorrow. Discuss the dates and concepts of how they're going to be distributed to our students and parents. Our compassion project was a speaker that our PTO and foundation actually helped to present to all of our students. The compassion project was a guest speaker, kind of helping discussing empathy and compassion, but more as an action. And a great example I can give of what that would look like was my 8th grader came home and I said, how'd it go? So it was good. She gave 3 of us $100 bill. It's a fake $100 bill. She said, crumple up that $100 bill. What's it still worth? $100. You know, tear off a corner. What's it still worth? $100. But basically, going into, you can have compassion, but you're still worth what you're worth, regardless of what happens to you along the way. Just it spoke to her because she's like, whoa, okay. So I just thought that was really interesting, and I know it's a little heavier, probably conversation with our NYP than our PYP, but for the PYP, NYP, excuse me, it really went well. Last we got a list of any library books that we were looking at. We both site council and actually used the list of all library books that we approved for our scholastic purchases. The World is Our Classroom, which is our foundation, which helps to supply our parents, our teachers, and our students technology to also help fund our field trips. I believe they're helping fund that. We're having our gala this Thursday. It is officially sold out. Kind of a fun thing. They're doing a dueling pianos 80 event, 80s dueling pianos. But that's a huge fundraiser for the gala. That really helps our bid. And last but not least, trying to look at that global piece. We're doing a walk for life on April 29th at YCJUSD 5 to 9. It's going to be fashioned kind of like the American Cancer Society Walk for Life. Just to kind of give awareness again to our students, because we have some students and staff that are actually, you know, currently in the fight of cancer, and a lot of our students' parents know somebody who, and that invite's going to be open to multiple schools to attend, and it's benefiting the Cancer Society. So.
Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments, Mr. Gregory? Okay. Thank you, Kevin, as usual. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to our consent calendar. Changes to this. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So
I have a motion by Board Member Coe and a second by
a second.
Board Member Bannister. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Now we're moving on to our information and proposal session. And Mr. Mead, I believe this is you doing a presentation about the dashboard data.
Good evening, Board President Snellings, members of the board and cabinet. Thank you for having me here this evening to share a little bit about our past and where we are presently using the California dashboard. So we're going to jump right in here and just review. I know that Dr. Anderson talked a little bit about what you see on the dashboard, but just to quickly review, this is shining a light. It's hard for a staff that is working so hard to not see those results right away. And it's hard to look at data that you can't go back and change right now. And to say, you know what, this is a place that this is where we are then, and these are the things we're learning from it and doing with that information, but we have to use it for what it is and not dwell. And so this is a spot in time. It's a spotlight of where we were at the end of last year. But really what we're talking about is going forward and what we're doing for our students, our families, and our staff. So just to review, we look at the dashboard, it looks really kind of old school with the different bars on there, but you notice the purple bars, obviously starting with 1 is very low, and you want to get towards that very high in most areas. So each one of those purple bars represents further along that standard. Right, so we're looking back once again last year. Now we've added TK, so our student body is a little bit larger this year, but last year at testing time, we're at 669 students. We have a demographic breakdown right there. What's nice here is that our demographics in areas where our subgroups may be struggling is we don't have overwhelming numbers in those areas. And so we're really able to kind of surgically streamline the support for our students, which is truly a benefit for both us and them. All right, so if you were to go into the dashboard right now, this is what you'd be looking at. We're going left to right, so chronic absenteeism. We're talking about students who miss 10% or more of their school year. And last year we were in the high range. We had about 10% of our students who missed 10% or more of their school year. And we all know how important attendance is. And that was a big chunk and the first thing that we needed to focus on after social emotional support for our students. Moving along, we had suspension rate. It's a little deceiving. You got 5 bars lit up there, but we're actually in the very low range. Less than 1% of our students were suspended during the school year. So we felt like that was a very positive area for our kiddos. The area of English learner progress, it says no performance level. That's because we have about 20 English learners on our campus. And so they're not represented with the bars. They're not a large enough population, but we'll look at as the presentation goes on, how they showed growth this year or last year. The area of English language arts, our students scored in the high range. It's a good place to be, but you'll see we have subgroups that weren't at that same range. So we need to focus in on those subgroups and provide them the support that they need. The area of mathematics, we scored in the low range. And that's definitely an area we've been working with math mindsets. We've shared a lot about that, but really looking at engagement in math and drawing those students in. And we'll talk about what that has looked like this school year for us. And we're standard met in the remaining areas of basics, implementation of standards, parent and family engagement, our local climate survey, and our access to a water system. All right, so looking at our subgroup data, just to review again, our English learners were 19 students. So you're going to notice when we look at it here, there won't be colored bars, but we will get a performance level that we'll discuss. So in the area of English language arts, remember overall we scored in the high range, but what we see here, this is important information for us because our students with disabilities scored in that very low range. And so when you look at that, you see such a discrepancy between the rest of our population, we need to come together and figure out where we're missing there. And so a lot of what we focused on not only is that first best instruction with our students with special needs or disabilities, but we've looked at how they interact with the test. A lot of times when you place a computer test for a long period of time in front of students, you look at how they're interacting with it, how they're using accommodations, how you're setting them up for success, just simply in how they take the test. In the area of mathematics, we didn't have anybody in the very low range, so sometimes you need to look at your positives. So we start with that. Nobody in the very low range, but we see once again that our populations that were also our biggest impacted when it came to attendance also suffered in both ELA and mathematics. But this is one area, as much time as we spent on it, I think there's frustration with that. There's so much focused on that first best instruction. And so to find little wins that we're going to talk about in a minute with what we're doing in the classroom is important. We don't think intervention is the answer. Intervention is the triage that we have right now, but first best instruction to us is the answer and finding engagement in the classroom. So we'll talk about what we're doing for interventions, but the big picture is getting them the first time in the classroom. All right, so looking at our English learners, remember it didn't give us a performance level, but we have 53% of our English learners showing growth. We had 13% that were maintaining and 33 that actually went backwards. And so those are our students that we need to look at and ask ourselves why, what we're doing in the classroom, what we're doing for intervention and support, and how we're preparing them for that LPAC, the assessment they take to gauge their performance level. We just finished up our LPAC for this year. Actually, we're very excited to see those results. And we had a kickoff, kind of a lunch together, and just with families and students, and just kind of talked about that assessment. They've seen it now. All of our kindergartners, we have 11 English learner kindergartners who spent one day a week with one of our teachers, Ms. Villalobos, at lunch, just to practice the assessment in a fun way. To kind of prepare them so they didn't face something that was so scary. So we're excited to see those results. Chronic absenteeism, like we talked about, a lot of the students that struggled academically, it's no surprise, also fell into that chronically absent range. And so getting students to school has been so very important. It's part of our morning announcements every single day. We've got our big map up in the NPR. I think I've shared with you guys before, where students or classes are moving across Route 66 every time we have a perfect attendance day. We talk about the teachers who had perfect attendance the prior day. We make it a bigger conversation so that they know that that's something that's important. We're seeing some dramatic growth in that area. And our suspension rate, I shared, less than 1%, 0.4% suspended last year. So where are we now? I just wanted to share some of the things that I think are big picture and are having the biggest impact with our students, our staff, and our families right now. We talked about our 5-year cycle for IB coming in and reviewing our program. And so our whole staff PD is focused on inquiry-based instruction. And I truly think things are very different since we were on distance learning. Our students have come back different. Our staff has come back different. We can't face it the same way. And that inquiry-based approach is so very important to engage our students in the classroom. And so we've made a large investment in this with kind of the guru in the area of inquiry-based instruction. And that's what we spend our Friday afternoon collaboration time doing. Our staff is invested. This is something that we came up with as a staff. It wasn't just the leadership team. And we're excited to be diving into that and doing it in our classrooms. I was just talking with Ms. Salinas, one of our second grade teachers. We had just an observation today, and she said, you know, I have so-and-so coming over from another school to come and watch an inquiry-based lesson. And that's what we want. We're all together. We're a team in this, but for someone to be confident enough to invite others into their classroom is what we wanted to see. So that's a big piece. Our social emotional learning, whole staff and student development. We're actually putting on there is professional development in Rancho Cucamonga. They've asked Ms. Brasher and some of our leadership team to come and give a presentation on what we've done with social emotional learning at our school. It's had such a dramatic effect on not only our attendance, but just overall well-being. You know, it was tough coming back for a little while there, and we just see a huge difference in our kids as far as their positive behavior. Not in all cases, they're still kids. We still have snafus. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we see the difference. And there's one, if you've seen the shark fin, does that shark fin sounds like anything to anybody? It's a way for kids that kind of focus on control. So if you ever come out to the CECA playground, you may see kids that may be getting a little bit rowdy, and all of a sudden you put a little shark fin up. I think it's so funny. But when I see it, I'm like, it's working. They're stopping this. Little things like that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal when you see it school-wide on the playground. Our teacher on assignment that focuses on instruction, family education, and data. And she does running records with our TK teacher and aide, and with our family support tutors that are there, so that she can give teachers timely data on how to support students in our classroom, specifically in that tier 2 range. So Christine McLaughlin has been huge there. Our full-time reading specialist, Ms. Tucci. So we have a tier 3 students that we are supporting more now than we've ever been able to. We have intervention during the school day, but also in-school academic support. So if I'm a 7th grade student and I struggle mathematically with the content of that day, 7th period, I can actually get a pass to go back to Mr. Martindale, be retaught immediately. It's not wait. And so we wanted 2 levels. We wanted to fill gaps, but we also wanted to deal with in the school day students that were struggling right away. So that's been a great addition. PBIS implementation at our school really goes hand in hand with our SEL. The CFA administration, as far as ELA and math goes, has been huge for our kids because it forces us to make sure that what we're teaching is at the level of the questions they will see. I'll talk a little bit about CFA data compared to last year's CFAs. And then math and reading running records, like I talked about, that gives teachers timely data. So we look back, and as a staff, we said, we're not going to hide this. We're not going to hide where we're at. We're going to put it up there. We're going to talk about it. So I don't know how many. There's a lot of them here tonight, so we can ask them. But I don't know how many are excited to go into the staff room and see our scoreboard up there. But we want to be sure we're supporting each other, and we know where we're at, and we know that we're doing something about that. So we look back to last year, and we see that we were at about 60% proficient advanced for reading and about 42%, 41% for mathematics. And so that's where we started last year. We're just going to dive into where we were when we're done this year. So these can be a little bit confusing, but this is what I pull up. We're talking about our reading and our math currently, and this is our star reading, star math that we'll look at. I just put each grade level on here because the frustration comes when you don't see immediate results. And so sometimes we need to we need to dive down a little bit. We need to tell ourselves, my favorite Denzel Washington movie says, progress, not perfection. And so sometimes we need to dive into what the data really looks like. And those yellow and red students right there, those are those intervention kids that are getting that in the school day specific to their needs intervention and bumping those students along. And I sent Dr. Anderson a picture of this last week, so I was so excited. Christine McLaughlin sent me just a breakdown of our 2nd to 5th grade data for mathematics, and we had an average of a 50-point growth in scaled score from 2nd to 5th grade, and then in our intervention students, we had an average of 79 points scaled score growth. And so we don't see it yet in that green and blue area, but those are the kind of things that are happening underneath that we need to make sure our staff and our students get to hear. See here, 5th grade, we're still in the area of reading. We have some areas that are really great. Those are the people that we go to and, hey, what are you doing? What's working in your classroom? And collaborating around those successes. So you see an 80% range there. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, as we go through, see that those older students started showing success more than our younger kiddos. And that was one of the conversations we had is, why do we see so much struggle in 3rd and 4th grade and not the same amount of growth we're seeing in older students? And one of the things we think is those are the kids, those are your kinder, your first, your second during the pandemic when they were learning to read, and now they're reading to learn. And so we've had to go backwards. We have 3rd and 4th grade students who are in small groups for phonics and phonemic awareness support. And that's where we're at. So we need to address those needs. Just wrapping up with 8th grade there in reading. We're going to see the same results here as we go through math. And these are winter scores, not our most recent scores. So the information I shared with you from Ms. McLaughlin is our most recent star reading and star math scores. We see that those yellow and red bars increasing, getting closer to that proficiency benchmark. That's our goal. So we're seeing growth. I'd like to see it all green and blue here. 6th and 7th. So any questions?
Any questions or comments from any board members? I don't believe so. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mead. Appreciate it. Okay, we're moving on now to item 7.01, additional administrative information. Anything for that? Okay. And then we'll go on to board member comments. Board member Bob Miller, comments.
Mr. Mead, thank you. Always good to hear you talk. You're articulate. You seem to be on it. I like your paragraph also. I love the example of money being crumbled. You still have your worth no matter what. So dignity is important, and we realize that. So just keep up the good work, man. You got a
great camp. It's just keep rolling.
Thank you for the presentation. I guess I should have said it when there were questions, but I just thought, I just love the idea of daily support for intervention because I just learned it and just to get that little extra, you wait, sometimes it's too hard. So I agree with that. So thank you.
Remember Bannister?
All of us in one, you do this repeatedly, Joe. You look at the data and you use it. And I really appreciate the way you and your staff dig into it without fear or favor and get after it. And I love that quote, progress, not perfection. Yeah. Thank you.
Remember Cope?
Yeah, I think progress, not perfection at this point is essential to overall achievement, long-term achievement. So great job. Thank you for your report as always.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We are adjourned. April 18, 2023, Ukiah Mesa Joint Unified School District Regular Board of Education meeting. And if you would please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will note that all board members are present tonight, including our student board member, Noah. Welcome, Noah. Good to see you. It's been a while. We're moving on to 3.04, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
Yes, President Snellings, staff would like to pull item 9.18, educational services, Vector USA 48-100 and 1001 F firewall upgrade. We'd like to pull this off for further discussion and
Okay.
research.
I was so looking forward to Okay, so with the removal of 9.18 as requested by the superintendent, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Got a motion by board member Bannister. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by board member Debbie Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. We do have a report out from closed session, and I'll read that right now. In closed session, the Board of Education took action on a motion made by Bob Miller and a second by Sharon Bannister, followed by a 5-0 vote to provide approval for a settlement agreement with the Ukiah Mesa Joint Unified School District for the Office of Administrating Hearing Case number 202-302-0302. Okay, that's that. Now we're going to move on to our recognition portion of the agenda. And we get to start off with human resources and our classified school employees of the year. That sounds good.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Stallings, members of the board and cabinet, and for all those who are in the audience tonight. This is a special treat. Every time this year, Human Resources partners with the California School Employees Association, our classified bargaining unit, and we ask principals and leaders on our campuses to select the members of their school who do so much to contribute to students. And when we're talking about classified employees, we're talking about custodians, secretaries, yard duties, groundsmen, everybody who helps make our schools run. So we have a process where every year, like I said, administrators nominate names. That goes through a selection process working with CSCA. What I'm here tonight is to name for you 4 individuals who were named as classified school employee of the year in 4 different categories. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask each person to come up. I'll read a little snippet of them, and members of the board, if I can have you come to the front, if you don't mind, and we can celebrate them as they come up. And we'll take a group shot, and we all can celebrate all of them in that moment. So we're going to start off with Mary Hardy. Mary, can you come on up? So Mary, just to read a few words about you. So Mary has managed to accomplish all of her duties as a senior secretary at CECA and more with the deftness that even the most skilled plate spinner would admire. She is never afraid of or above stepping into any role. Mary will grab her radio and ask where she is needed. No job is too big or small for her. She is a wonderful secretary and, more importantly, a wonderful person. Congratulations, Mary. All right, our second recipient unfortunately could not be here tonight. He had an unanticipated family event, so I'm going to ask Ukiah High School Principal Dan Jervis to come and stand in for Basilio B.B. Barrio. Thank you, Mr. Jervis. Listen a little bit about BB. So he goes by Basilio. His name is Basilio Barrio, but everybody calls him BB. So if you're wondering who this long name is, just remember it's BB. He became the lead custodian at Ukiah High School in 2018, BB has successfully developed a highly professional crew of dedicated and respected custodians. BB is hardworking, responsive to others, and easy to approach, both to the people he serves and the people with whom he works. His dedication and commitment to excellence has made him valued and respected among his peers. He has been and continues to be an excellent example of what all UCAPA teamers strive to be. Let's give BB a round of applause. All right. Next up, someone who I've known for a very long time, Mr. Terry Marino. Yes, you have to stand here while I say a couple things. Mrs. Aguilar said I had to make it short, so thank her. Anyway, Terry Marino has been a staple in the Yucaipa Mesa family for a total of 32 years, where he began as a campus monitor. In 2005, he became the lead campus monitor at Parkview Middle School. Mr. Marino leads his team of monitors with the vision of keeping Parkview safe for all students each day. His natural leadership and drive to make Parkview the best it can be is observed each and every day. He's always willing to go the extra mile to help anyone in the Parkview community. Congratulations, Terry. Awesome. All right, our next recipient, from Valley Elementary School of Viking True and True, Monica White. Monica. So Monica White is an exceptional worker who continually puts others first in all aspects of her work. As a special education instructional aide, Monica supports students with their academic and social emotional needs by showing them patience, kindness, and understanding. She's in tune with each student's needs and is able to help these students reach their full potential. Monica exemplifies excellence with their attitude and overall dedication to our school community. Thank you, Monica. All right.
Okay. Now we're going on to another recognition. Human resources to recognize our wonderful school librarians. All right. Let's do it.
Awesome. Special night tonight. Several groups that we want to honor. So in our district, we have job descriptions, library media tech, digital media teacher, textbooks, senior librarian, things like that. All these people complete the work of what we typically call a school librarian. They help teachers find materials. They help students find materials. They coordinate all the textbooks in and out every year. It's a huge monumental job. And I know as board members, you've had an opportunity to visit school sites and see our wonderful libraries from elementary to middle school to high school. We have an amazing crew of individuals who make literacy come alive in our schools. This last Sunday, April 16th, was National School Librarian Day. So we thought it was only fitting not only to show our appreciation, but to show our appreciation at this board meeting for their amazing work. So what I'm going to do here is we have a collection of individuals who were invited to come tonight. And members of the board, if I could ask you once again to come to the front, and I'll call out their names, and we'll be able to recognize them that way. That would be wonderful. All right, I think these are alphabetical by school, so if you're wondering like how we start this way, that's just how it is. So starting off, the wonderful librarian from Calamasa Elementary School, Lydia Harjahausen. Lydia? Lydia's the role model. See how this works. All right, from Chapman Heights, Melissa Levesque. All right, let's keep it going. The amazing Sue Courts from Dunlap. From Ridgeview Elementary School, Jesse Carroll. So last year, this person was here attending the Classified School Employee Year of the Award. So let's have Chuck Maloney come on down. Valley. All right. From Wildwood, Vanell Curtis. All right. CECA, Angela Fairgray. Angela Gray. All right. From Mesa View, we have a Mustang in the house, Chris Bauernfein. We also have another Eagle in the house, April Medina from Parkview. April didn't make it, but thank you for cheering her on. All right, from Tempa High School, their senior library technician, Candace Blair, could not be here this evening, but she wanted me to extend her thanks to the board. Going continuing, let's give Candace a round of applause. Yes. Tempa High School, also with Candace, we have the amazing Carrot Conley, District. And then rounding off this amazing group, someone who covers Oakview and Green Valley, the amazing Jenny Dennett. Okay, Lance, if you want to do your magic and get a group picture, that would be amazing. Good shot.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
So the fun doesn't stop. We also wanted to take a moment this evening to recognize another key group, the key team members at all of our campuses. May 10th is National School Nurses Day. That happens before the next board meeting. So we wanted to take some time this evening to recognize our entire health services team. That includes health technicians. We're also LVNs, health assistants, and our district school nurse. So similarly, I'm going to call you up so we can recognize you. I'm just so impressed with this amazing team. Keep in mind, this is the team that's there for our students, helping them with the boo-boos, helping them work with their parents, immunizations, vaccinations, contact tracing, all these things. These specialists bring a lot to the table and really help us out in our schools. So let's start off, Cal Mesa again. Let's have Alina Galvin come down. At Chapman Heights Elementary School, Kim Levesque. Hey, we have a dolphin in the house from Delmont Elementary School, Cindy Gustafson. Cindy, okay. From Richview, Daniela Stevens. Valley, Catherine Brunn. There's a line, a receiving line. All right, the amazing Janie Carson from Wildwood. Equally amazing, Brandy Osborne from CECA. From Mesa View, John Fredrigill. From Parkview, Lisa Mortella. From Yucaipa High School, we have Stacy Lowers. Yucaipa High School, Rosalinda Reyes. Now, Yucaipa High team, Kelly Wickers. We also have a collection of health technicians and assistants who work through student services, who support schools in different ways in an itinerant capacity. I would love to invite up Catherine Chalice. Dan Coyle, also. All right, more fun. Heather O'Beer, our school nurse. And rounding out the team is Teresa Schaefer. Hey, Mr. Bradley, this is your moment.
All right. Can I get everybody right in front of the board after Teresa's done shaking Mike's hand? All right, come on up front.
No upside down certificate.
One, two, three.
Thank you, team. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, team.
Take care. You guys.
Okay, that was fun. Now we're going on to item 5, our highlight, Human Resources District Risk Management Review. Mr. Stoltz.
President Stallion, Service Board and Cabinet. I feel like I've been up here all night. You have. This is the last of me, hopefully. We'll see. I'm here tonight to share actually information with the board about something that is kind of sometimes behind the scenes, but as a part of working with our employees, we also work with another organization called the California School Joint Powers Authority. We work through our risk management, workers' compensation, and things like that. So what we're going to do tonight is present some information, and I'm joined by other individuals who are going to partner with me from the California Schools Joint Powers Authority. So if I can invite up Sandy Avina and Sherry Williams. Thank you, ladies. Sandy and Sherry. And then I do want to give a shout out to their boss, Julianne Leggett, who is right over there. Thank you for joining us, Julianne. What we're going to do, members of the board, is we're going to go through this presentation. We're going to share some information with you, and feel free to ask questions as you go if you'd like. Obviously, we'll take questions from the beginning. But we want you to understand all the components of what constitutes risk management in the district. So I'm going to turn it over to Sandy, who will start us off.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandy Avina. I am the Claims Service Manager of California Schools JPA. We are very happy to be here with you today. Can everybody be okay? I apologize. I'm 5'2".
We got it.
So we're happy to share some information with you today. I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation with our Workers' Compensation Manager, Sherry Williams, who will go over some information on our JPA who we are. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Bates, President Stone, and Kuiper and Mesa board members. Jim stated I'm Sherry Williams, and I'm the dedicated workers' compensation manager at California Schools Joint Powers Authority. California Schools Joint Powers Authority is your risk management pool. We provide your workers' compensation coverage, property coverage, liability coverage. We provide the best-in-class services and coverages for your program. Our mission is to promote student achievement by optimizing financial and human resources of member districts through high-quality risk financing and loss reduction services. This aligns with your mission of making a difference in each life of a child. Our JPA consists of 30 K-12 school districts as well as community college districts. Excuse me. We support San Bernardino County School Superintendent Schools, San Bernardino City Unified School District, Colton, Redmond, Yucaipa, ROP, Morongo School District, and Etiwanda School District, just to name a few. So we pretty much handle all of San Bernardino County. Cal Mesa is one of our founding members. The JPA was founded in 1985, and we've had a long-standing relationship with Cal Mesa. We want to thank you for that. I work closely with Jim Stoltz and Cheryl Burns in the risk management department, and they're doing an excellent job working with the JPA. Let's look at what risk management is. There are 3 components to managing risk. Our goal at California Schools JPA is to protect your assets and to mitigate your risk or your losses. How do we do this? First, you have to identify the risk. which is to determine if there's an unsafe condition, what type of risk is there. The second assessment is to assess the risk, determine what action steps we need to take to mitigate the risk. And the third is to control the risk. And how do we do this? Through training and partnering with your teams to keep your students and your faculty safe. We offer a variety of trainings, forklift training, ergonomics, emergency operations planning, safety planning, just to name a few. So we want to promote injury prevention through a culture of safety and training. And we want to make safety a priority and training and awareness is the key. The JPA and YCJUSD makes a partner together to make sure that there are resources and training available to your staff. Our ultimate goal is to protect your employees and students, which will result in cost savings to the district. So I want to thank YCJUSD and Jim for being a valuable partner with California Schools, JPA. Jim and Cheryl are doing a great job, and it's been a pleasure to work with them. And I will hand off the next slide to Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Sherry does a great job and and her team, Sandy and Julianne's team, working in partnership with the JPA really prepares us to handle all the variety of things that happen in the workplace. What I want to share now is just some snippets of some things that are about risk management, just for the board's information. For example, we do coordinate our services to our employees through an injury reporting system called Company Nurse. Company Nurse is the organization when an employee is injured at work. They work with their site team, usually the secretary and their administrator. They make a phone call to the company nurse. You can do it online as well. You report what happened, they take a report. And the whole reality behind that is making sure our employees are taken care of. And we're talking about the range of injuries. We have a really solid process here where even if it might seem to be a minor injury, we want to report it, document it, because you never know what's going to happen the next day or the day after that. We want to be sure we're doing the documentation to protect the employee, to make sure our employees are cared for. And that happens through company nurse. Next slide, please. Another thing we do as a unit in human resources is work through the process of employee accommodations. So sometimes employees have a permanent, most likely a temporary situation, maybe an injury or something they're recovering from. And whether that happened at work or at home, sometimes we have people, they go skiing and they have an unfortunate gift when they come back and they have that leg brace on, or something happens. And so what we work with our employees is we ask that very pertinent question. Can you still do your job safely for you and safely for the people that you work with? And we create an accommodation plan with that employee to be sure they can do their work and still heal the way they need to. That's the process that we work with. We talk with the employee, we talk with the leader at that campus, we document to make sure that they're on the road to recovery at the same time. They're not going to be injured themselves. So that's what accommodations are about. Next slide. There's also another key individual on the team, Tim Ryan, works with Dr. Freeman in Business Services. He's the maintenance and risk supervisor. Mr. Ryan's job is instrumental. He does several things. You can see the bulleted list there on the side. But when the air quality is not what it is supposed to be, he will send warnings out to our school sites so they can adjust outdoor operations. When there's a heat issue, Mr. Ryan does that as well. It's also Mr. Ryan's task. Let's say there is an injury, student injury or employee injury, and perhaps there's something at the school site or the department that may have contributed to that. He's going to go out and mitigate that and see, is there something that we need to do as a district to be sure there's not another event. Mr. Ryan was going to be here tonight. Unfortunately, he's not feeling so well, but I really want to commend him and all the support that he provides to our schools. It's one of those behind the scenes individuals that, when things go right, you don't hear a lot, but when there's things happening, Mr. Ryan's definitely on top of it. Next slide. Another function of human resources is it's not necessarily an accommodation, but sometimes there's things that we can do in the workplace to make the workplace safer. A common thing is ergonomics. We have several of our employees who spend a large portion of their day sitting at their desk. And for those of you familiar with that, if you're not sitting just quite the right way, or if you do a lot of repetitive motion things, you can cause a form of a chronic injury. So one person in my office, Cheryl Burns, is our personnel assistant. She's been trained working with Sherry's team on how to conduct an ergonomic assessment. Contact Cheryl, she comes out, She looks at your workspace and gives you guidance on, are you not sitting right? Is your chair not quite at the right distance from the desk and the computer? Is your computer monitor at the right height? All those things that you might not think about. Sometimes people get their job and they just set up their workspace the way they think makes sense. Then later, maybe they're complaining about a shoulder thing or a wrist thing. And an assessment like this can make a little tweak and make it so our employees can do their work without hurting themselves. A little part there. Next slide, Mr. Bradley. So I'm going to turn it over to Sandy. I think that's going to talk about some dollars and cents and some numbers.
So I'm going to be going over the financial impact of the great work that Jim mentioned from the human resources team to keep your employees safe. And we'll start with talking a little bit about how workers' comp premiums are determined. When we're determining a workers' comp premium, we're looking at the district's experience. And when I say experience from an insurance perspective, we're looking at two things primarily: your frequency and your severity. Your frequency meaning how many injuries occur, and severity meaning what is the dollar assignment to those injuries. Then we take that information and we develop what's called the experience modification rate, XMOD for short, and that's your factor that determines your insurance premiums. So 100% is the baseline. We look at all of the districts in our pool. We have 30 plus K through 12 districts and community college districts in our pool, mostly in San Antonio. We look at all that experience and say, what is the average? If you're doing the average, then you pay the full amount of premium, it's 100%. But if you're below average in your experience, meaning you're not having as many injuries, or your injuries don't cost as much as other districts, then you get a discount. So in this example here, we see over a 5-year period, is that the district has been significantly under that 100% baseline, which means you're having a savings on all those premiums each year. So for example, for the 22-23 year, we have an XMOD of 78. What that means is instead of paying the full premium amount for that year, you're only paying 70% of the premium. So if we look at that 5-year span, that savings is $1.6 million that the district has saved. And I want to point out that this is not a 1-year savings, this is 5 years. It's very difficult to get a program that's successful and has that experience across the board for that span of time. So that really is a compliment to the district and the work they've done and all the things that Jim had mentioned before. Next slide, please. So just to give a visual representation of that frequency, severity, and what that looks like, is that orange line represents the frequency. So if we look at just the top 5 causes of injury for your district, we have struck or injured by a fellow worker or student, that's 33 incidents in the last 5 years. After that, we have 26 incidents of slip, trip, or fall, then 15 of lifting an object, 14 of strains, and 10 of cumulative or repetitive motion type injuries. Those are things like carpal tunnel, for instance. And what you'll notice is the severity and the frequency are not always the same. So for struck and injured by a fellow worker or student, that's your most common cause of injury. And you can see by the blue bar that's not the most severe cause. So we're looking at both of those components when we're determining the XMOD for your workers' comp premiums. Next slide, please. Now, liability, very similar to workers' comp, has the same formula, but it's rated separately for workers' comp because it's a different program. We are still looking at frequency and severity. And what we see from the district is over the last couple of years, we did have a slight increase. And that does mean that you have an increase in premium. So that same logic applies. Just as you were at a 78 for workers' comp, and you're looking at 78% of the premium. For liability, in the 22-23 year, if you're a 147 XMOD, then it's 147%. So that is an increase in the premium that you're paying. But what I want to point out is that if you're looking overall for both programs, it's an increase of $300,000 for the liability, but for the whole program, because it was a 1.6 million savings over comp, you're still in net savings of 1.3 million for the entire program. And I want to point out 2 things here. So even though we see the graph having that increase, one is that we're starting to see a trend downward. So went from 149 to 147. So the district is heading in the right direction. And then 2 is we also have a dividend that's applied from our JPA through all of our districts. $7 million across all of our districts over a 4-year period. And that was something that was brought about by our board in order to make sure that we're keeping those liability rates down. So in light of that downward trend, here's some of the things that we do to make sure that we're supporting the district to be safe and to protect your students and your staff. I'm not going to read every single bullet point, but I just want to reiterate what Sherry had mentioned is that culture of safety. That really is what drives safe conditions and gives you a successful program. So we have COVID-19 support, making sure that the district is supported, has information on the most updated guidelines for OSHA, for CECA, the trend analysis, just like we gave a presentation today on XMOD, we meet with the district and give a much more granular presentation on the trends that we're seeing in the district, if there's something going on at a specific school site, and what we can do to partner to make sure that we're creating safe conditions for staff and students. And then training, Sherry had mentioned as well. Training is important. We provide that for both your school staff and we have an online in-person. Just as you mentioned, we provide training for all of our districts to send members to get certified for ergonomic assessments so that they can come back to your districts and make sure they're keeping employees safe. And the return to work program is such an important part. So Jim went over that, the accommodation process to bring employees back to work. In workers' compensation, the primary cost driver is lost time. So having a process in place to have employees go through the interactive process, find temporary or modified duty available for them, brings down those workers' comp costs, and that's evident in what you're seeing with your rates and why you're paying so much less than average districts for workers' comp insurance. Then for safety committee participation and security staff consultation, we work very closely with the districts to find out what's going on in your school districts, what we can do to partner to make sure we're keeping your staff and students safe. Are there any questions regarding premiums?
I have one question. On the liability X mod rate where we had the increase in premium that you mentioned, although we went down a little bit lower this year, what are some simple or specific things that we could do to help decrease that premium?
There are a lot of different things that the district is already doing. So having a robust interactive process, because that works for non-industrial injuries just as it does for industrial injuries or employment liability claims, for instance. Having ensuring that staff have their regular updated safety training. We have a platform called Vector Solutions, where we provide a variety of safety training from heat illness to safety lifting and ergonomics. And there are things that the district's already doing to make sure that we're heading in that right direction. So we work very closely with our members, and you guys at Mason has been such a fantastic partner to work with. This is not an easy task, risk management. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's hard work to keep people safe, especially in an K-12 setting. So it really is a testament to the work the district is doing to make sure that everyone's being safe.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Bob?
Yeah, thank you, Sherry and Sandy. So I just had a comment first and then wanted to ask you a question. So I heard this about 30 years ago from Gordon Graham, who's an attorney now, he's a retired CHP captain. And it came down to 5 words, right? If it's predictable, it's preventable, right? Would you agree with that? And do we work a lot on that side of the house? If we're starting to see a pattern, do we have an early warning system? Say, for example, we have somebody in our maintenance yard keeps getting in auto accidents. Do we have some kind of an early warning system in place to say, let's get them some training, let's make sure that we've covered it, that something's been done out of that to correct the behavior. Therefore, we don't have a negligent retention issue if there was some kind of a court case. So I mean, school districts, I'm sure the same as cities, right? And any comment on that?
Yeah, so we had mentioned trend analysis is one of the services that we offer, and that's when we look at the experience of the district as well as the overall GPA. So just because you haven't had an incident come up yet at your school sites doesn't mean that there isn't a trend out there, right? So that's something that we share that information of what you're experiencing at the district level, that's predictable, and also what other K-12 districts in San Bernardino County are experiencing as well. So you're prepared for that. So we tackle it from both ends to make sure that the district is prepared, and then we offer our suite of resources to support them and find out where we can fill in those gaps to address something like training, if it's safe driving. And what we find for our partnership is that the district knows where the needs are. Like they know their employees, their staff, their school sites better than anyone. And so usually when we're bringing the data, they already have an idea of what's going on and ideas to partner and make sure that we're keeping all our students and staff safe.
Thank you. And then secondarily, I mean, the numbers look pretty good for this year and well, for the 5-year period actually, but it just takes a couple of big ones, right, to change everything. And could you give an example of what that would look like where it could change that very drastically?
So when we're looking at the XMOD in terms of the premium, we're taking a look at 3 years back and trying to do what I can in this short amount of time and stay within the technical explanation. We're looking 3 years back at your experience, those losses, what they cost. And every loss is capped at $100,000. So you can have a big loss that makes a bump in the premium. But again, it's that 3-year look back and that cap. And the reason that cap is in place, we have actuaries that make sure that we don't have a district that has an insurance level that goes absolutely through the roof from one loss. Because that's one of the reasons that the benefits of the GPA and pooling is if you were doing this in the private sector and going to a for-profit insurance company, they would either just refuse to insure based on one loss, or they would charge you the ridiculous rates, right? So as public servants, we want to make sure that we're custodians of shared funds, and that's part of our role is making sure that the district has quality financial risk financing, right? So that's part of what we do as well. So there's the protecting your human resources and your financial resources, and making sure that our financing is stable enough to support the district even when there is a loss.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. Ms. Avina, Ms. Williams, thank you very much. Mr. Stoltz, thank you. Appreciate the information. Now we're moving on to public comment, and I believe we have a few. Or actually, Travis Burton. Good evening, Mr. Burton.
Good evening. How are we all today? Good. Can you hear me? We got you. So I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about safety. So we've all seen the recent news in Nashville, right? It's very tragic. So CRB, which is the Civil Review Board, with questions about the new SRO. So I would like to get some responses from the administration here about, is the SRO in place and working? Is the SRO full-time at the high school? And where did the funding come from? And how much did the SRO cost? I'd like to get a follow-up on this item. What might even be better is if the superintendent could inform the community here tonight under item 12.01. Thank you, and I look forward to your response.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Next is Jay John. Welcome, Mr. John.
Thank you. Good evening, President Snelling and Superintendent Banks, and the remainder of the board. I just want to address a situation that some changes have occurred. And I want to address those a little bit as far as the public meetings here at the school board. First of all, time allotment has been changed from 5 minutes to 3 minutes for agenda items. 20 minutes total. So I just want to make sure that that change is, I want to know why the change was made. Secondly, additions to public participation section, any disruptive behavior by an individual, they will be removed. And differing opinions can create disruptive change, disruptive response. We heard applause tonight. We heard clapping on the little things. We just want to make sure that when there are opposing opinions, those are addressed with the same courtesy as they are with any other. And then what I really want to get at is perception is reality to people right now. We have a lot of people in our community, in our county, and in our country that are generating comments that are not trusting. So remember that perception is their reality. My question is, why are the changes being addressed now? Is the board anticipating problems in the near future? Are you giving parents less voice to protect their children by limiting their amount of time individually and 20 minutes to all of those? is there maybe some objectionable or woke curriculum coming down from the NEA or the California Teachers Association that may be addressed here at this? What I'm trying to do is get out in front of this. I don't want to react when changes have already occurred. It's too late for that. So I really hope you understand that what I'm talking about is that across this country, school boards looked at not as favorably as this one is. Okay? And so I want to be sure that we stay in that position. This is not to knock anything, it's just to question what the changes are and why they're happening. I do know, having firsthand been to several and many city council meetings, there have been some drastic changes in how they are now dealing with public comments and how strict they are getting. You cannot even applaud what went on tonight at this meeting. Everyone would have been ejected. That is why I'm here tonight, to make sure that it doesn't trickle over from there to here. Bottom line is, I hope you can understand my personal concern for these changes. When changes are made, people question the motives to those changes. People are losing trust, as I stated earlier, in governmental bodies. And the most important thing, parents, that they have is to protect their children. So please don't take that voice from them. That is a core responsibility to those parents. And I just hope that you would realize, I've said this many times speaking here, our children are our country's greatest resource. They are our future, and my future is a lot shorter than a lot of people here. But I still believe that the children and how they are educated, how they are dealt with personally on a one-on-one basis and in a group setting like this determines how that future is going to be for each child, for our community, and for our country. So I just hope that Yucaipa School District will keep becoming that beacon on the hill to make sure that our children are treated properly and their parents know that they can defend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John. Rick Martinez. Hi, very welcome.
Good evening, President Snellings. I'm very nervous. I'm used to talking to people half my size, so please forgive me. I'm a little disappointed that all the people left because this is a message that I on Saturday, April 29th, is hosting it started to get the ball rolling because there were no official ACS events happening in our area, and we have a K-Kids group at our school, and we've been collecting all this money from different fundraisers we've been doing, and wanted to be able to put money to something that we've been supporting for 12 years, however long we've been going on. So it's happening on April 29th from 5 to 9 p.m. Thank you for allowing us to use the Thunderbird Stadium at YHS. Our goal, really, it's not a fundraising event per se. We really just want to support the people in our community, our school district personnel, our families. So we just want to have people, survivors, bring your survivors, anybody in your family, your friends, your neighbors, to join us at 5 o'clock for our survivor lab. We're trying to put together some kind of swag bags to give to them, but we just want them to be there so we can show them all the love and support that they need. And just to understand that we just be there. And then we'll have people walking the track. Hopefully we'll have lots of people there walking. The motto is cancer never stops, so we don't either. So we would just like to have people come out and walk. If you can only walk for 5 minutes, that's great. If you can walk for 4 hours, that's awesome. We're going to try to have food trucks, yeah, and other events that are happening there, some music. We're hoping to get some music and other things. And then also Luminaria will be available for any of you who have ever been to a really fun event. That's kind of the highlight of the night. It's a bag with a candle and you can decorate it to anybody that you are supporting or anybody that you've lost. And we turn the lights off in the stadium and the Luminaria are all the way around the whole loop. And and so then that will be a closing lap and then just have cleanup and by 9 o'clock. So I just want to send that invitation to everybody here and to ask all y'all to tell all your friends and neighbors, any school district personnel. We're trying to get schools on board to have penny wars and anything to try with a little extra support and maybe a little friendly competition between. So you can contact me, Mary_Martinez. Need if you want to information. Or if you want to just let us know if you're coming or any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Appreciate it. Tom Herron. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, good evening, President Stellings and Superintendent Finks and the whole Board of Education and Cabinet. As a veteran teacher, I'm very concerned about the proposed changes. I truly feel like the revisions being proposed are a clear example of good intentions creating the opportunity for bad outcomes. Some of the proposed changes seem innocuous, such as changing tutor staff there. Some other revisions can seriously inhibit the ability of our educators to provide meaningful, engaging, and relevant instruction that meets the needs of all of our student populations. As an alternative education teacher for the past 2 decades, I have learned that it's important to personalize instruction to encourage my students to engage in the curriculum. I started taking the classes I was teaching 1, 2, or 3 times in school. I knew from day one that my students needed and deserved a different approach. An approach that would foster a classroom experience that encourages higher level thinking, classroom discussion, and engagement. My toolkit as a teacher has included a wide variety of resources and materials. Among the resources I have found to be particularly valuable and innovative was the use of short video and film clips to introduce and reinforce concepts and standards being taught. Using film clips in a structured way promises a sort of authentic and meaningful classroom discussion that benefits all students, regardless of their academic abilities. Here are just a few examples of the short clips I've used and how they support my teaching. I've used clips from the original Star Wars movie to introduce the concepts of scarcity, exchange, and markets in economics. Also in economics, I use the horse scene from Monty Python to help students understand what marginal analysis is. Monsters, Inc. from Pixar gave a great opportunity to help my students understand production possibility curves, which is a very difficult economics concept for students that have been struggling with math skills. In history, some stuff I've used has been the Battle of Britain scene from the beginning of the movie Pearl Harbor to teach about the Battle of Britain and the important role our British allies played not only in standing up to Nazi Germany, but also how the invention of radar helped fend off the Luftwaffe in 1940 before the United States entered the war. I've also used scenes from Crystal Knot from the movie The Book Thief to help my students get a meaningful and true feeling for the impact of Crystal. Fortunately, the way this board policy has been rewritten creates unintended consequences that require every clip used by a classroom teacher to be viewed by not only the teacher, but the site administrator, rather than just those clips that might be questionable. The amount of time that an administrator would need to view all these clips is considerable, and it can be much better used being in classrooms, out and about on campus, and interacting with students, staff, and stakeholders. Please keep in mind that our educators are highly educated, qualified, and known for their outstanding professional judgment. They are constantly making decisions that are for the benefit of all of us. We already have effective policies in place. Let's not create a workload issue for the administration. I ask that you hold off on any sort of vote on this item until each and every one of you has had a chance to read both the current board policy and then the proposed one. Ask yourself, how can this be interpreted by a teacher administrator, teacher, or staff member? Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Now we're moving on to our student board member report. Noah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start off for sports so far. We have softball, baseball, tennis, volleyball, golf, track, and swimming all going on currently. Coming up this Friday, YCJUSD is holding its spring rally for last Friday, as well as the same day they are having a spring dance, which we have not had in a couple weeks. Notably, we have AP test coming up in May. Just recently, the juniors had their California state testing. And also notably, our Thunderbird Theater is working on a production for Newsies, which is coming up. The Engineering Academy is holding a career day tomorrow, which is going to have multiple companies around our area coming and presenting to students the types of careers that they have to offer and the opportunities that they have. ASB elections are next week, so voting for positions such as ASB president, treasurer, and also even like the role that I'm currently in are all coming up next week. And then lastly, notably, we have prom coming up, which will be at
Thank you very much. Noah, any comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. We're moving on to item 8, our Colton Relland Yucaipa Occupational Program Report. Ms. Bannister.
Yes, we have a few highlights I'd like to point out. The auto shop at the high school attended the San Bernardino Valley College Pathway to Pathway field trip to learn about secondary education and automotive services, aeronautics, diesel services, and automotive collision repair. That program is, we visited it, is pretty awesome. Got another apprenticeship program with us. CCD.
San Bernardino Community College District.
Oh, thank you. Presented to the Auto Tech 2 and Auto Tech 3 students about apprenticeship opportunities. It was pointed out to us that several students from our program have gone to work for local dealerships, which, and I think AutoZone was one of them too, which is really pretty awesome. We posted, Yucaipa High School posted some mock interviews. There were about 30 employers participated in putting kids through their paces. The kids got all dressed up and went as if it was a real interview. 505 students got interviews. Yucaipa High School will offer a new career planning and management program next year. We're really excited about that as well. Sadly, we've learned that Tracy Zerpoli, the superintendent at Prior Rock, is retiring. So the Prior Rock board is in the process of finding for replacement. She leaves some pretty big shoes to fill. But we'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Bannister. Now we're moving on to the discussion action session 9.01. I'm going to use some discretion on 9.01. If the board allows, I'd like to have a discussion before we make a motion on this. I've been informed by our superintendent that the proposed language in that wasn't prompted by any board member. It's really CSBA template and comes from Gamut, which is the service that provides us information related to board policy and the language that we should use. And their recommendation was that we limit public participation to 3 minutes when the public's making comments. I personally am okay with the 3 minute and 5 minute requirement that we've had in the past. And I will admit that I let it slip by me at the last meeting, and I apologize for that. I did not see that as an item, and so I'm just asking the board whether or not or would come to consensus to allow the 3 minutes for a non-agenda item and the 5 minutes for an agenda item as we have in the past. We've always been pretty flexible in allowing folks to even extend over the 20 minutes or the 30 minutes, depending on the issue. And we've tried to do that. So is there agreement with the board or consensus that we stay to the 3 and 5? I'm seeing, okay, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I on occasion, you will go over, and I think as long as we make allowances, if it's a serious subject, and maybe, on occasion, then we'll go over their 3 minutes, and the president usually gives them a couple more minutes. You're balancing free speech with rules.
Right.
So, I mean, it depends on the situation. It's like tonight hearing that clapping for employees is considered disruptive. I guess in the pure clinical sense of it, I guess you could say that, but that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We've seen enough things over the last few years nationally happen where meetings just got totally out of control. So there has to be some mechanism to deal with that. I just want to use our good common sense and prudence. If there just has to be somebody that's going to go over, because it's a major subject.
Right.
And I would ask the board to just consider that, even though I'm okay with the rule.
Well, disruptive to me is not allowing us to run the meeting.
Right.
That's what disruptive is to me. It's not clapping or somebody saying, hey, good job. That really doesn't bother me personally. But if we couldn't run the meeting because there was so much disruption, then that would probably call for some decisions to be made by me and by the board. And so I agree with that.
Right, and I think that the policy does have some language that says there's flexibility.
Yes, sure.
So,
Yeah.
so we just follow
Right.
that. But I think sticking with the 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
That's fine.
Now I will say that I get uncomfortable sometimes because that timer goes off. Somebody's right in the middle of a sentence, and I'm trying to be nice. Because I'm a nice person, people tell me. So I'm trying to be nice, but I'm also trying to run the meeting too. And if it comes to 7 or 8 or 9 minutes, then that's a little bit long. So I try to measure that all out. And I'm thinking in my head, when am I going to have to say thank you so much, without really being abrasive and cutting people off, because that's against my nature. But I also have to run the meeting, and so I try and find a balance with that. So I guess the question is, can we make an amendment to this second reading to allow for 3 minutes for non-agenda items and the 5 minutes for agenda items as we have in the past, and keep those same?
Yes, President Stelling, the board has the discretion on a first read and a second read, or even two on a second read, have it brought back again.
Okay.
So I would ask that if the board wants to make a motion to change the language to what has been proposed, that you then make a decision whether or not you want to bring it back for a second read or accept it on the second read.
Well, I'm comfortable making the changes that we've noted. I don't know what the wording will look like. I mean, it's our old wording, I would assume that we use, but with the time limits, but I'm okay in just approving it with the amendments that we've talked about, going back to our 3 and 5 minute requirements and the other length of time, the 20 minutes or the 30 minutes like that.
30.
Yeah, 30. So the old language.
So go back to the old numbers.
So I've got consensus on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will take a motion to approve 9.01 with the adjustments that we just discussed.
So moved.
I have a motion by board member Bannister. I have a second.
Second.
Second by board member Cope. Are we okay with that process?
And are we reading the second reading, or?
Yes.
Can
We'll
we
just-
add that into the
Yeah,
motion?
exactly.
Okay, yes.
We'll just make the change now without bringing it back to the board for a third reading.
Right.
Okay, good. Thank you for that discussion beforehand. It's a little bit out of sequence for us, but I thought it was important enough for us to talk about because I agreed with Mr. John and his assertion. So, okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you.
President Sines, may just mention one other thing?
Yep.
Just for the audience and the purview of the board, I know you understand We subscribe to a service that gives us language, that gives us the legal changes as well as just wording changes. Sometimes you'll see that it's been changed from a capital D to lowercase or vice versa, very minute changes, but they are legal changes. In this particular instance, I don't believe the time element to be a legal change, it's just a recommendation change. So we bring to the Board of Education the recommendations, and then the ones that aren't legal mandate changes, then they have the ability to make recommendations for language that fits CECA. So I just wanted to explain, we have students in the audience from Mr. Eichmann's class, and so I wanted to give them a little lesson. And would you guys just kind of wave at the board so they know, yeah?
All right.
And we gotta watch them because I already signed their paper that they're here, so. But there's a good lesson in government right there.
Better not hear any snoring back there.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're moving on to 9.02. This is the second review governing board elections. Do I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve.
Got a motion by board member Bob Miller, a second.
I second.
By board member Debbie Miller. All those in favor say aye. Any discussion? I'm sorry. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. The next one is a RFP for business services, home to school transportation. Do I have a motion for approval to award this bid to YCJUSD bus service based on the bids?
So
I have a motion by board member Coe. Do I have a second?
second,
I have a second by board member Bannister. Any questions or additional information? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Number 9.04 is business services. This is a roofing project at various schools. And again, we're going to actually, I think in this case, one of the bidders was non-responsive according to the law. And so we're going to give it to the second lowest bidder. Do I have a motion to approve the roofing project contract as noted?
Move approval.
I have a motion by board member Bannister. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by board member Miller. Any questions, comments? All right, it's going to be good to see those roofs on there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes unanimously. Moving on to 9.05. This is asphalt repair. And the project has been awarded to AMS paving. Again, we had a non-response. Do I have a motion to approve 9.05 as presented?
Move approval.
I have a motion by board member Bannister. I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.06 is the installation of the district-owned drama, lighting, and sound system. I believe we've already bought this equipment. This is to install it, so that's exciting. Do I have a motion to approve this item as presented?
I move to approve.
I have a motion by board member Miller and a second by board member Coe. All those in favor say aye.
I have a.
Oh,
aye.
sorry.
I do have a question.
Okay.
So when can we anticipate that this will be done?
Great question, Mr. Bannister. It'll be over the summer. Phase one of the project was last summer. And so we did the majority of the lighting and the sound. And so this is the final lighting project to finish up. The board committed funds from about 18 months ago.
Yeah, okay, good. Glad to see that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.07 is a piggyback legal bids. This is for custodial equipment. Do I have a motion for approval?
So
I have a motion by board member Coe. I have a second.
Second.
Second by board member Debbie Miller. Any questions or comments? Okay. We've all seen waxy products around. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.08. Okay, okay, all right, sorry. Okay, that's the one we just did. Now we're moving on to 9.08. This is the piggyback legal bids for maintenance and operations agreement with Turf Star. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Got a motion by board member Bannister. I have a second.
Second.
second by Board Member Coat. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. 9.09 is a purchase of Turf Star mowers. I believe this is 2 lawn mowers, actually. Is that correct, Dr. Freeman?
That's correct, Mr.
Okay,
Snell.
2 lawn mowers. All right.
Yes.
Do I have a motion for approval of 9.09?
So,
I have a motion by Board Member Coat. Do I have a second?
sir,
Second by Board Member Debbie Miller. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.10 is a second review. This, I believe, has to do with auditing and our financial reports. Do I have a motion for approval of the second review of Board Policy 3460?
Move approval.
I have a motion by Board Member Coe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Board Member Bannister seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.11 Business Services. This is a second review of board policy related to campus security. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Debbie Miller, and I'll second this item. All those in favor, any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. We're going on to 9.12 Educational Services. And I believe we had a presentation on this a month ago at our board meeting related to our newcomer program textbook adoption. Do I have a motion for approval of the purchase of the newcomer program textbook adoption?
Move approval.
I have a motion by Board Member Bannister. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Coe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I vote aye. I don't think there are any opposed. Passes unanimously. Now we're moving on to 9.13 Educational Services. Do I have a motion for approval of 9.13 as presented?
I have a clarification.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it just like we did the other one,
Yeah.
because I do too.
Okay, you wanna
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I wanted to clarify, the policy currently states that we do have, we require people for 3 years.
That's correct.
So how does it differ? Is it just verbiage?
The language regarding the process of approval by an administrator did not change in the updated language.
Yeah, I'm looking at the policy in the first line under films and videos says it's required that movies and films be submitted to administration for prior approval.
Right.
So that's been in place prior.
Yes, President Stillings.
Okay. And then it says when a staff member desires to show a film, even when only a small portion of the film, the staff member shall review the film to determine whether in their professional judgment it's consistent, and then follows district policy and submit a request to the site administrator. So this has been going on.
Yes, that's
Okay.
been the current policy.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Bob.
I guess, Jamie, I'll ask you, I mean, is that in itself been a bigger workload for the supervisors to, if it's a policy we basically had in place already, and there's a video, our teachers know what they're doing, that they're looking at the right, thing to teach. But is there been a lot of workload for our first line supervisors there to have a review after the teachers looked at it?
No, not to my knowledge. I think it's just about the communication with teachers and the administrators. So no, I haven't heard that there's been an issue with that.
Yeah, I would assume if something's questionable, they would say, hey, you look at this, make sure it's approved, that I'm within district policy, so I'm not violating anything.
Correct.
Okay.
Have there been any instances, or maybe we've received, I know that there's been fines levied on districts for showing movies that aren't licensed to show, or have we had any of those incidents?
We have in the past.
Yeah, we had them in Colton too, and that's why I was asking, because it's something we had to wrestle with a little bit. So, okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment. So one of the things that we discussed is that the teacher wouldn't necessarily have to make time to go to see the administrator, that an email with links to the clips would work.
Correct. That would be perfect.
I actually talked to a principal today who's got is able to do a 24-hour rule in a medium-sized school. So I would imagine in our largest schools, which would be Park, CECA, and YCJUSD, it would probably be, a couple of days, but that they have found it to work pretty smoothly just with an email, and there's an email confirmation back, and then that serves then as the record for the teacher to hold on to if there's a change in administration.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so we're still on 9.13. Do I have a motion for approval as presented? Got a motion by board member Coe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by board member Debbie Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving on to a second review for board policy 6172.1. This is regarding concurrent enrollment in college classes. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by board member Coe. Do I have a second?
I second.
A second by board member Bob Miller. Any questions or comments? This is a great thing that we're doing. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Yes.
We're having a little difficulty with board docs. That's why I asked you where, and they've been doing an update over the past few days, and they said it wouldn't be done by tonight. And so I don't know, but we're just having a little numbering issue. We're in line with the paper copy, and you're in line with the paper copy, but I know that Stella is trying to make sure that we haven't missed anything on her end. If we could just pause for a moment, just to make sure that, and it's different on the screens.
Well, I'm on my computer on board docs. I do not use my paper copy for the meeting. I use my computer, so.
And you seem to be in line with mine. So I think it's a glitch somewhere. Is yours different? Is that?
It's just used.
So I just refreshed it up on here and it disappeared.
The
roofing, it's the roofing.
that Yeah.
disappeared.
The roofing item disappeared. But
But-
you have it.
I'm gonna refresh.
If I may, President Sellers, can I verify that we still have the votes recorded?
Okay, well, it was a 5-0 vote on the roofing. I'm not sure who made the motions.
We have it on video.
You okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Don't stress out over there still. All
I just don't want anything to get missed.
right, don't worry.
All righty, all right.
Okay. Now we're moved on to 9.15. This is the second review of instruction related to vocational education. I believe we're updating language to career technical education, some other new laws. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a second by board member, or first by board member Bannister, a second by board member Coe. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving on to 9.16. This is a second review for a board policy related to work-based learning. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I have a motion by board member Bannister. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving on to 9.17. This is for the purchase of, I believe, software programs to assist with the master's schedule called Cardinex at Yucaipa High School. Do I have a motion for approval? Got a motion by board member Coe, second.
Second.
Got a second by board member Bannister. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. There's no opposition. Passes unanimously. 9.18, we removed from the agenda, so we're moving on to 9.19. This is the purchase of computers for the library at Yucaipa High School from Dell Technologies. Do I have a motion for approval?
I move for approval.
Got a motion by board member Bob Miller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by board member Coe. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Real quick, President Snelling.
Yeah.
I refreshed mine and now mine's off. Is it
Okay.
okay? Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All right. thanks.
so we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.20 is human resources. This is a resolution for National School Nurses Day. Do to highlight the important work school nurses and health support staff do on a daily basis. And I'm thankful we were able to recognize them tonight. Do I have a motion supporting the resolution? I have a motion by Board Member Bannister. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Debbie Miller. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, no opposition. Passes unanimously. 9.21 is a resolution regarding the California Day of the Teacher, which we do each year. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution regarding Day of the Teacher? I have a motion by Board Member Coate. I will second. Any discussion or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 9.22 is the purchase of Helios Ed database software. And this is software to help smooth out the process in HR related to personnel records. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I have a motion by Board Member Bannister. Is there a second?
I have a second with a question.
Okay, a question. Okay, we've got a second by Board Member Bob Miller. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Stoltz, what does this do for the public?
Thank you, Board Member Miller. So we have a current database that keeps track of all of our employee information. It's a program that goes back to the 1990s. It's not upgradable, and so it's not keeping up with our demands. This is an opportunity to get into the 21st century and not only keep track of our employee data, but to protect it the right way. And it will track things like training and other opportunities that our software will do. Save some opportunities to maybe not use DocuSign as much as internal signatures in there. And it helps with some of our workflows.
Yeah, that's a need, not just a one. I mean, I agree with you 100%. That thing capsulizes into one data. And then is there a warranty with it in case we have issues?
Well, it's a software package, so then technical support does come with okay.
Okay.
You like more docs. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. 9.23 is human resources. This is a CSEA memorandum of understanding. Do I have a motion for approval? I got a motion by Board Member Debbie Miller and a second by Board Member Kathy Coate. Any discussion? Okay, glad we can do this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. 9.24 is a MOU related to summer pay for classified employees. Do I have a motion for approval? I got a motion by Board Member Bannister and a second by Board Member Debbie Miller. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
President Stelling's thing. I guess is that I saw the hourly wage of I mean, that's competitive with what's going on in other districts.
Yes, Member Miller, that's exactly one of the reasons why we're proposing this MOU, so that we will be able to recruit employees who work this summer, because that's what other districts are doing.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes unanimously. 9.25 is human resources. This is a certificated employee summer pay memorandum of understanding. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Coate. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Debbie Miller. Any questions or comments? Okay, glad we can do this one too. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that any board member would like to consider separately? Okay.
10.08.
10.08. Okay, so we will consider that one separately. So do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented from 10.01 through 10.23 with the exception of 10.08?
Can I just read just in case, 10.08, it says business services, 1-year extension of RFP number 1-1920, so just for clarification.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so do I have a motion for approval of the consent items with the exception of 10.08?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Bannister, a second by Board Member Coate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. 10.08 is the 1-year extension of our RFP using the E-rate for a Cat 1 WAN digital transmission service. Do I have a motion for approval? I'll move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by board member Debbie Miller, and I know there's a question, so board member Miller.
I'm not sure who it goes to, the wide area network that we're extending. Can you explain to the audience or our constituents what that is? I mean, is this the one that I saw that didn't have a warranty also?
No, thank you, Mr. Miller. The wide area network, this is our internet service. And
Okay.
so Frontier is our internet service provider. It handles our phones, our alarms, and all of our networking. And what E-rate does is a federal program that if you apply for E-rate, then the federal program picks up 80% of that bill. And so we're left with 20%. So instead of going back out to bid, we're actually to extend it 1 more year for Frontier to continue to be our internet service provider.
Thank you.
Okay. That it? All right. Thank you, Dr. Freeman. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we're on to our information proposal session. Is there anything that anybody wants to ask questions on this? We've got some first reviews. We've got some, looks like we have some administrative regulations that are going to support the new board policies that we created tonight related to concurrent enrollment and work-based learning. And I know that on our District Williams Uniform Complaint Report, there was nothing to report. So okay, we're good. All right, we're moving on to item 12, additional administrative information. Ms. Bates.
Yes, thank you. Wanted to just remind everybody, there's only 33 days left in the school year. So 33 days to get a lot done. And so I wanted to remind the board that this week we're shoring up all of the awards assemblies and the graduations and promotions. We had a little bit of overlap, which we were trying to avoid. So we've gone back to our principals and asked for some support on that. We've had 2 principals that were helpful in not having that overlap. So we'll do our best to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get to where they want to go for this season. We'll get these to you. I can't believe how fast the school year has gone. It seems to, Noah, you ready to go to, ready to send you on your way? Count the days. Also,
last 3 days.
President Selly, you would have the answer at this time.
Sure.
Okay, I would answer, I make sure I wrote it down correctly. But for our school resource officer, Deputy Rico Perez took the place of our former deputy who unfortunately was injured and has been out. But he ended his time with us on February 15th, and then our deputy has been in place shortly thereafter. I want to thank the Piper Sheriff's Department for very quickly finding a replacement. The new SRO is actually a Green Valley graduate, and he went to Valley Elementary, and so he was really excited. He attended our February leadership team meeting and was able to meet all our admin team, and he had already been making his rounds. He is not stationed all the time at Yucaipa High School. He does support other schools. Cala Mesa has a deputy that supports Mesa View. And so with that, the other question was the cost. It comes out of general fund. And for the 21-22 school year, it was $172,000. I understand from the city of Yucaipa that the Benefits Association, basically the negotiations team for the Sheriff's Department, has just settled, just found this out the other day, and there'll be about a 5% increase, it looks like, to that cost.
Now we'll move on to board member comments. Board member Coe.
I have actually met our new SRO. He's under clinical kids, so I saw him on campus. Great guy. Lots of stuff. Love seeing all the nurses and the classified employees and everyone else that I'm going to forget right this minute because I shouldn't. But Thank you so much for our public comments today. I really appreciate all of you getting up and pointing things out that we need to take another look at. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to all of the activities coming up. I think May might be just as long as January. So and I'm sure it'll be fun.
Thank you, Board Member. Sure.
I would like to thank you, Noah, for your report. It sounds like lots of fun and stress is coming your way. Yeah, that'll be great. And also I wanted to say, I really appreciate that we spend time celebrating all of our employees across the board. It's really nice. that we do that. Okay, oh, I should also mention, I went, Valley Elementary had their leadership day, and I wasn't able to go in the morning because I had lost my ability to get up early. But I did go at lunchtime, and the Major General in charge of Space Force was there. It is a confirmed Trekkie. I could not miss that. So that was very, very exciting to be there. Valley always does such a great job.
Is that it?
That's it. That's it.
Debbie Miller.
It is always nice to recognize everyone at these meetings. I just love seeing all of them. I love librarians. My sister's one, and they just have a love for books, and that just bleeds over to the kids loving books too. And I just love that. And nurses have a special place in my heart because my kids always had to go see them. And they're very special, and the classified, very important. So it's nice. It's always nice to recognize. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Okay. Board Member Bob Miller.
Yeah, well, I kind of had a nice surprise tonight. I see one of my former MPA students, Christina Behringer, in the front row. She's also a school board member in the Snowline School District. And she was an incumbent, ran again to give me some advice. And Christina, you told me you would just show up to a meeting one day, and here you are. So thank you. And a great student at the Cal State MPA program. So good. Thanks for coming. That was nice. Leadership Day, I did go to that, and the Major General was awesome. You know, to see the young people in our schools look up to somebody that's a Major General in Space Force. He was in the Air Force for years. He's a good friend of the Rekstats. Kurt Rekstad, our dean at Valley, was able to facilitate that. And it was neat to see the children see that, boy, this is possible. You know, I had some friends ask me, I didn't ask him about the Chinese weather balloon. I don't know if he would have answered me or not. But he talked about that they are keeping our country safe. And there are so many threats that they are dealing with, these thousands of satellites right now, that they are on guard for our country. And it was just neat to see, and it was a little bit patriotic also. And the fact that the children are just kind of leading the whole thing. And I thought it was really a good day there at Valley. And then I just want to close with, I did go inspect the bathrooms. Dan, thank you for your kindness of letting me inspect the bathrooms. If you guys remember, over the last several months, there's been comments about the bathrooms at the high school. They were immaculate, clean. We had some waxing products we had to replace, I think. But you know, it was pretty good shape. But it was around the time school was let down, so there was a lot of students there. Then we went over and watched a softball game, talked to maintenance crew there for a little while, see how it's going. So that was very rewarding, and I can attest as somebody that was there towards the end of the day. They were great. They were clean, efficient, looked great. Again, I did stop a student and ask him how it's going. When I go on these visits with the superintendent and their staff, sometimes I'll veer off on my own and go start talking to people. It's just to hear from students to what's going on. And the student was very positive, and it was great. So I want to thank our staff for all they do for us when we're trying to go see stuff, and all your busy schedules, you got everything tossed up in the air, especially for a new board member to help me with that. I really appreciate it. Won't be forgotten. And thank you everybody for being here tonight.
Thank you, Bob.
Can I have one more thing?
Of course.
Because the Major General who went to Valley Elementary School.
Yes.
And to Yucaipa Intermediate School, if you can remember. And he went to Yucaipa High. So I think that was also pretty cool for the kids to see something.
Okay, great. So Noah, I don't know if you know that you were on Instagram. I wasn't able to go to Valley, but you were on Instagram, so I got to watch your speech to the kids, and you did a fantastic job. So did you see yourself on Instagram?
I did, yeah.
Did you press like? Yeah, okay. You can only press it once. But you did a really good job, and I'm glad that you were there, and I'm glad that Principal Miller invited you. And also, I know that spring break is way back in the rearview mirror now, and you probably forgot it even happened. But I'm really looking forward to the end of the year and all the activities that the board gets to enjoy with our students and our teachers and our classified staff. The end of the award ceremony, the award ceremonies, and of course, the graduations will be here soon. So it's a busy time for everybody. And again, thank you for the public that was here this evening giving comments. We appreciate it. And we are going to do a memorial adjournment. Oh, and we're going to be going into closed session. So I'm going to read this. The Ukaipa Calimesa Joint Unified School District Board of Education this day will adjourn in memory of Kimberly Fishbach, who served as an elementary teacher at Valley Elementary School from September 4th, 1990 to June 13, 2013, and Jean Bennett, who served as a projects clerk and then as secretary at Ridgeview Elementary School from July 25th, 2001 to March 12, 2013. We are adjourning into closed session.